2023 edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. The National Urban League's Digital Career Success Series, DCSS, is a professional development series that helps members of Urban League Young Professional Chapters and other diverse job seekers explore the intersectionality of Blackness and professionalism while developing new skill sets that will enhance their careers through digital platforms such as webinars, LinkedIn, and Facebook Live. The DCSS provides an opportunity for remote professional development right from one's computer. This is a special edition of the DCSS because March 1st begins Women's History Month, which is an annual declared month that highlights the contributions of women to events in history and contemporary society. We are excited to kick off the month with best-selling author, speaker, business coach, and CEO of Wealth Success Chamber Enterprises, LLC, Nikita Lawrence. Nikita, welcome to the Digital Career Success Series.
Welcome. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Kenneth. I'm so excited to be here. I'm honored to spend this time with you, the National Urban League, and everyone who is joining us from all across the country. It's going to be a great time today.
It's definitely going to be a great time. Speaking of all across the country, please, Nikita, we have one of the best audiences out here. Please drop in the chat where you're from. Let us know where you're representing. And Nikita and I are going to do our best to make this entertaining and enjoyable. Listen, Nikita, I know that you don't like to boast about yourself, but I'm going to need you to talk your talk right now. Give us a brief bio.
Oh my gosh. So I'm a wife and I'm a mom. I am a woman of faith. I'm an HR executive by trade. I actually started my career, Kenneth, in retail management, working for Walmart. I don't know if we have any retail leaders in the house with me or any fellow HR colleagues in the house. It was not my dream. It was not my plan, but I started out in retail management and then moved over from retail management into HR. I loved it. Found my jam there and have been in HR since then. I wrote my first book and became a certified coach while working at Walmart full time. And then really, as I launched my company in 2017 and 2018, started working with private clients, helping women really discover their gifts, really step into their purpose and pursue and fulfill their business or career dreams. That's been my life's work. And so I've been at it since then. I published a few books, have released some journals, and I'm committed to this work. So I'm so happy to be here.
I knew you weren't going to just continue. I knew you weren't going to just expound on the breadth of work that you do out there. How many books we talking, Nikita?
So I published 5 books and I have 14 journals also. They are all available on Amazon and from our private website.
Yeah. Nikita is working out here. Speaking of working, listen, please stay on until the end of the session because Nikita has a special offer that she'll share with you guys at the end of the session. All right, Nikita, look, this is about career transition. So I'm going to transition from host to learner, and I'm going to bounce in and out with questions in the chat and the Q&A to support this conversation. But I'm going to let you do what you do. Look, audience, please do not hesitate. Leave your questions in the Q&A. We have a Q&A session timed out for the end of the workshop, but also I'll try to get your questions in during the session as well. Nikita, I'm passing the mic over to you.
Thank you, Kenneth. So y'all, welcome. This is going to be a great time here together. I do not do workshops that are lecture based. And so if you were thinking you were going to listen to me and you didn't have anything to do but listen, you were wrong. And so we're going to be very interactive during this time together. I see you're already in the chat box, which is wonderful. And so I just want to ask a question to kick us off. If you're ready to get started, I want you to drop in the chat, Nikita, I'm ready. Nikita, I'm ready. And we have 122 participants here. So once we get, let's say at least 50%, wow, ready, I'll know that we're ready, Ken. So let's see who's ready. Maxine is ready. Virginia's ready. Felicia's ready. Valerie's ready. Erica's ready. Renee's ready. Wanda's ready. Cam's ready, Christine's ready, Kenzie's ready, Anita's ready, Arika's ready, Robert's ready. All right. I think we're ready. I think we're ready to get
I
started.
think we're ready. That's that Women's History Month energy. I feel it all in here. So
I
let's do
feel it. Yes, happy Women's History Month to all of the women, all of us who were birthed by women, all of you who have women that you admire and that you respect. Congratulations on what's going to be a great time here together. And so, on the next slide, we're going to kick off with an icebreaker. Now, this icebreaker is called the soundtrack of your life. And so I want you to think if your life had a sound, if your life, if there was a song or an entire album that spoke to the sentiment of your life, the life that you're leading today, what would that soundtrack be? What's the song or what's the album? What would that soundtrack be? I know for myself, Ken, as I, ooh, we got Melissa. Melissa's dropping in already. Sounds of Blackness. Excellent. Ken, for me, as I was thinking about this, I didn't have just an album that spoke to all of it. I had songs, individual songs. And so a few of mine, there is a song, there's a worship song. I'm a woman of faith. I'm a Christian by my faith, and there's a song called My Worship by Phil Thompson, and it is so beautiful. And the words to that song, my favorite part are, as long as I am breathing, I will always worship you. So
it.
it's a song that's vertical, directed to God, and I feel like that's my commitment. That is my conviction. All the work that I do is to fulfill my purpose, to do what I believe is glorifying the Lord. And that song says it. And so it's that song. There's also another song by Jasmine Sullivan, who is one of my favorites. It's called Masterpiece. And it is just, it's a beautiful song. It talks about just the transformation of understanding who you are and your beauty, and being able to understand that you are a work of art. And so I think about the work I do with being able to coach leaders and to help them unlock who they really are, and to see the beauty not just in their successes, but also in their failures, in their lessons that have been painful, to find the beauty in that and to also help unlock that in others. It's the work I do, and those are some of the songs that say it for me. Ken, what about you? What
Well,
song is the soundtrack of your life?
I'm sitting here thinking it through, so I don't have anything that I want to add to that. But shout out to Philly. I know you mentioned Jasmine. I saw Wanda on here from Philly, so this is what we're doing. We're gonna do a Philly thing for just a quick second. But I don't have a song that I can immediately think of. But I tell you what, let's come back at the end. I'll probably have it for you.
All right. I won't put too much pressure on you. Let's see what we have in the chat. And so we have Melissa who kicked us off with Sounds of Blackness by Optimistic. We have Hell on Earth by Mob Deep, from DeQuain, My Times from Wanda, Nipsey Hussle, Victory Lap, Keys of Life. Oh, classic. As is one of my absolute favorites. Closer to My Dreams. Oh my gosh, y'all got some good ones in here. So Happy Being Me. I love that one as well. Amazing Grace from the Queen Aretha herself. All right, Mary J. Oh, good morning, gorgeous. Yes, y'all got some good ones.
Yeah.
Some good ones. Come and Walk with Me, Golden by Joe Scott. And so here is the purpose of this exercise. Um, it's not just for us to get to know the wonderful selections of music that we all have and that we hold true, but it's a challenge for you. Whenever you wake up every morning, you have an opportunity to step into the life that you want, or to continue living the life that maybe you don't want, or maybe the life that someone else said you were supposed to have. And so each morning when you wake up, I want you to begin to think about the soundtrack of your life and the direction you want your life to go, the direction you want your career to go, the focus and the sentiment of your day. And so if you are not already kicking off your day with music, I want you to think about, what do I want my life to feel? How do I want to feel today? What do I want to accomplish? What energy do I want to bring into my day? And I want you to be intentional about playing that, and also leaning into what it takes to experience that. All right. And so on the next slide, we're going to begin talking about purpose and the foundation of purpose. And before we go deeper, I want to see who we have here in the room. I know that there have been some layoffs that have happened across many different industries here in the last few months. And I am so excited for an opportunity to spend a few minutes with you and to talk through some things you can do right now as you begin to pivot and redirect your career if you were affected. And so I want to do a survey, and I want to see who we have here in this room and get to see how many of us are right now in the middle of a career transition, how many of us are thinking about our next career transition, or how many of us are actually planning that transition. Okay. And so we're going to get our survey pulled up, but in the meantime, you can drop that into the chat box. If you're in a career transition right now, if you're thinking about it, or if you're planning it, because guess what? That's what this presentation is all about, career transition. And so I know you wouldn't even be here if you're not in one of those spots. So let's see who we have here in the room.
Hey,
And so we
Nikita,
have,
hey,
yeah,
before we jump in, I think I appreciate you bringing that to the chat, and I see the people are coming in. You know, I'm a recruiter by trade, and I've worked in staffing. And when people would walk in the door and tell me that they were in transition, I would always say congratulations, because I thought it was a time to realign and kind of maybe go towards their purpose. So many people take those early jobs just as a means of creating income, right? So now this is the time that you can kind of readjust. So I appreciate the question. What are we seeing in the chat?
yes, so we are seeing in the chat, we have some that are in transition. We have quite a few that are planning a transition, thinking about the transition. Okay, some are messy. We have some that have recent layoffs. We also have others that are, okay, we have someone in a long transition, Judith. Okay, so we have quite a few that are in a transition or are planning that transition and really beginning to prepare for it. And I say the same thing, Kenneth. I believe every closed door is just the precursor to the next open door.
Yes.
And what sometimes, even if it's painful or unexpected, or we have not fully prepared mentally or sometimes financially for that transition, I found that good things can still come through that unexpected surprise and that unexpected transition. And so this is an opportunity that we all have now to really begin to focus on purpose and to be intentional about what the next steps are. And so we're going to start here. Thank you all for sharing with the foundation of purpose. And so I want you to ask yourself right now, am I feeling aligned or misaligned in my purpose? There's a lot of conversation about purpose. Many of us want to live a life on purpose. We want to fulfill what we believe is our purpose, our highest purpose. And often I found that many leaders are not really sure what that is. And so we have a lot of people that say, you know, you want to be about your purpose, you want to be aligned with your purpose, but how do you get to the place where you understand what your purpose is? For me, the way I answer that question is that you will, when you become clear about your vision, that will lead you to your purpose. And so purpose essentially is you being able, it answers the question of why am I here, right? Purpose answers the why, the big why question. And what I found is that when you have clarity about your vision or your dream or your mission, when you are moving in the direction of that, then you are fulfilling what is your purpose. Now, we all have our purpose in life. We also have our purpose in work. And so I want to ask you, you know, right now, if you were to do a temperature check for even before maybe you were brought into this transition, were you feeling misaligned? Feeling misaligned in your purpose? Some questions that you can begin to ask yourself are some of these. You know, how have my relationships been flourishing? Or how have my relationships been maybe struggling? How have I been feeling when I wake up in the mornings? How often have I been utilizing my gifts and my talents and my strengths? Have I felt like my work was meaningful? Have I felt that I was making a difference within my local community and with the people that matter the most to me? Have I lost sight of what I'm passionate about? Have I begun to feel, stagnated? Have I stopped growing? Have I just felt like I was in the wrong place? Have I felt like I'm in the wrong industry? Have I felt like I'm not charting ahead toward the
You know,
mission that matters most to me?
that's really interesting what you're sharing, because so misalignment can be industry and position title, possibly.
Absolutely. It could be industry, it could be position, it could be the specific company, it could even be within the company, but you're on the wrong team.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong department. It could be even if you are in the role, you're serving or operating in the wrong capacity. For example, let's say we have many of those that are here today. You've been in your careers for a number of years, and so there is something that you have an expertise in. And so I want you to just take a moment. I want you to drop in the chat box what you believe is your expertise, what you are exceptionally good at, what you do better than most people, what comes natural for you, what you have maybe received awards or accolades for. Just drop that in the chat real quick. And so, what I found is that, Kenneth, when we have professionals who are excellent at what they do, but maybe have not gotten a lot of support or encouragement or resources to continue to leverage that strength, then the passion can begin to grow dull. And not only that, they can reach a point where they're supposed to be transitioning from being great at the thing to teaching others how to be great at that thing. And when that doesn't happen, when you're in a position, you're not getting the right resources, you're not getting the right support, but you're operating at the top of your game, unless you begin to transition and you begin to mentor, shift others, or challenge yourself in your own pursuit, you'll find that you're feeling misaligned because you're not contributing at the level that you can.
Now, Nikita, is this something that, how do we know that this just isn't a period that we're in, just a space that we're in for a month or 2 months? Because I wouldn't want people to make just a rush decision to say, hey, you know what, I got to get out of this. But you may just be in a lull.
Absolutely. So you can begin to, it depends on how long it's been. And it depends on, we all have their scales, right? There's scales of times where maybe things are not on the up and up, but that happens rarely. There are times when maybe you're feeling challenged. And so in that feeling challenged, it challenges your confidence. And maybe you feel misaligned because you're growing, right? There's a difference between growing and going through growing pains and truly being misaligned, in that what you're doing no longer is serving you, it's no longer fulfilling you, and it's not making you better. And I believe that's actually a very personal question that needs to be answered, because for most people, they may be in a position, in a role at a company where they're no longer growing, but they're comfortable. And so then they stay, even if they are not quite aligned with accomplishing and contributing at the highest level.
Now, I know you're a pretty esteemed and sought after career coach. Do you find that some of your clients are coming to you in that space?
Absolutely. Most of the clients that come to me have already passed that space. They were already comfortable as long as they could be comfortable. So they they went through that phase where they were comfortable doing what they were doing, but they feel called to do more. And whether that was being doing more as an employee, or even doing more entrepreneurially, or doing more in service or in volunteer work or through a foundation. Oftentimes I found that, the goal, sometimes I used to think that I wanted to just retire early so I could just retire and just travel and quote live my best life. But for me, my desire is to make sure that I'm always doing the work I was called to do and impacting at the level that I can and helping others do the same. using their gifts, their talents, and the dreams that are on their heart. And so for you, if you are, I'm looking at some expertises here within the chat box. This is excellent. One of the ways you can look at purpose and what your mission is how many people have you taught or mentored in the area of your expertise? Because it could be that, again, if you have found that, I'm looking at Lorna right now, Lorna Lewis, analysis, process, policy reviews. That is excellent. And so I would say, if I was Lorna and I was feeling a little misaligned, could it be that I've reached the level of expertise? Now it's my time to mentor, train, coach, develop others to be excellent in this, in analysis, process, policy review. And so right now, a question for you to ask yourself is, if you say, yes, I'm feeling misaligned in my purpose, the next question for you to ask yourself is, what is my mission? What is it that I am on a mission to accomplish right now? For some of you that are here, your mission may be to secure your next opportunity full time, because your layoff came at a time where it was unplanned, and you need to secure something very, very quickly. That would be awesome. For others, your mission may be to figure out what you want at this stage in your life. For some of us, this may be an opportunity for you to do a full reset and not to just go for any opportunity that comes, but really to look at, what is the next phase of the work that I do? How am I able to contribute at a higher level than before? How can I be more impactful? For some of us, there may be things happening in our personal life that are causing things to also shift during this time. It may be that you have loved ones that you need to care for differently. It may be that there are some relationships that you need to be present for a little more. And so as you're thinking about, what happens next in the career transition, I want you to sit with yourself, not just now, but after this presentation, to ask and identify, what is my mission? What is it that I have a desire to build at this stage in my journey?
Well, Nikita, there's a question that came into the Q&A that I want to jump on now, right? So Cynthia states, she's in transition, but the transition was decided by management. They've basically made her an event planner. I guess she wasn't in that role in the past, but now she's an event planner because they like the skill set that she brings to that role. Now she's embraced the transition, but it wasn't decided by her. It was management that decided this. Again, they like her skills, but she would have not pursued this opportunity had it not been for them. It sounds like she might have been happy where she was at before. What's your advice for someone in that situation?
Oh, that's such a good question. Thank you, Cynthia, for asking that question. So, one of the things that I would think about with that question or with that situation is, specifically, what can I learn through this opportunity? I can think about the first role that I took in retail management. It was as an assistant manager for a local Walmart. My business management degree was in management, but I had no desire to work in retail. And I was given an opportunity to do that work, and it wasn't something that I was looking forward to or that I enjoyed, but it gave me some foundational skills and experiences that allowed me to grow as a leader, as a communicator, as a coach, as a trainer, as a people manager. And so, one of the questions for Cynthia, who posed this question, is, in what ways do you believe you can grow as a result of this opportunity? And then you have to also ask yourself, what will be required, right? What am I willing to give in order to grow through this opportunity? And then you ask yourself, will the payoff be worth it? Right?
Well,
So you didn't come up with this, but how will it help you grow? What is it going to be required? And then, what will the payoff be? Is it worth it for you? And what I love about experiences, Ken, even those that are unexpected, those that we may be kicking and screaming, um, going into, are that those experiences always stay with us. And so no one can take those away. Even when we transition into other roles or other opportunities, things, especially that were difficult or hard, they often help us grow into versions of ourselves we weren't before those experiences, and no one can take that away. And so we can only build and become better as a result of those.
Indeed. Let's move to the next slide.
All right, so on the next slide here, we want to think about the function of purpose. And so I want you to ask yourself, where is my highest value? And this is a question that you want to ask based on your contribution. There's a school of thought that says people should understand their strengths, but focus on or work on their weaknesses or develop their areas of opportunity. I actually believe that if you lean into your strengths, and if you identify what you're great at, and you decide to build a capability to continue to grow in that area, you'll go farther. And so for some people that are here, it may be that you're in the middle of your career transition, but this is your opportunity to find an opportunity that aligns with your greatest strengths and where you're able to deliver and contribute your highest value. And so I want you to think about this. When you are producing your best work and people are experiencing the best of you in business or in your career, in your workplace, in your industry, what are you doing specifically? What is that function? What is that type of work? Are you working individually or are you working with a team? Are you leading a team? Are you presenting? What is it that you're doing when you're able to produce your best work and contribute at the highest levels? And so I want you to think about that and drop it in the chat box. When you're producing your best work, when you're contributing at the highest level, what is it that you're doing? And so if it takes you a little bit longer on this question, that is okay. This is also a question that I want you to use as you're guiding yourself through this career transition, because the last thing you want, the worst thing I've seen, I shared that I've been in HR for 10 years. I got into HR in 2013. I've dealt with a lot of managers who have had underperforming employees and people that maybe were great at one point in the role, but then they began to struggle. And for some of them, it may have been that, it was just a difficult time in their life. For others, it was that, at one point they were able to function through their weaknesses, but as the role evolved and shifted, the dependency on their strengths became smaller, and what the role required was something they just were not good at. And so the learning curve was steeper, and maybe even just their natural their natural talents were not being utilized. And so now there's a performance issue that needed to be dealt with. For my folks in HR, you may have been familiar with this as well. And so I say all that to say it's important that the role that you're in, your function, and how you're contributing is one that allows you to play to your strengths at the highest level. And if you have found that you have tried to struggle through areas of weakness just to get through the role, you sometimes mental health is impacted with those things. And overall, your performance won't be at the highest level. So you won't be able to contribute your highest value if you're flowing it and you're functioning in a role that needs your weaknesses
So
as the foundation.
is there some self-assessment to that? Sometimes I've noticed that people believe that their contribution is highest in one area, but the numbers are bearing something different. It's showing that they're really more successful in another area or another skill set is being needed.
Absolutely. There are different self-assessments that can be taken. If you are employed, you can also look at 360 surveys. One of the personality assessments that I like is like the Myers-Briggs and the DISC assessment. And so there is a free assessment. It's called 16 personalities. It takes maybe 5 minutes to do. If you were to Google 16 personalities, it will help you understand what your personality type is, but it'll also bring up strengths and areas of opportunity. And so those assessments are really great for understanding more about yourself. Thank you for pulling that into the chat box now. So you can click on that link. It's really great to help you understand yourself more. And I've just found that the mindset here is what's most important. Some people just feel like, oh, I want to be good at this one thing. So I'm going to focus on this one thing and I'm going to take my weakness from horrible to bad, as opposed to saying, hey, here's my strength and I'm going to take my strength from great to phenomenal. And so it's a shift there. And in most companies, they don't always focus on this part. And so it's something that as owners of our own careers, we have to look at and be mindful of when we select opportunities that we want to spend our time in.
You said from horrible to bad. You have me laughing over here, but I get it, and I do know that happens, right? The focus is just in the wrong area. Focus on making the skills that you're kind of really good at great. So that's usually the thing. You ready to move on to the next slide?
I am. And so the piece there is to, as you identify your next role, think about the roles that specifically highlight your strengths, and that's the foundation. And so with finding your purpose, this is where you want to really ask yourself in this next phase of your life, of your career, who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? This is where you want to come up with your I am statement. And so for all of us, we all are striving for something. And I found, Kenneth, that when you're not striving for something, then you're falling behind, because time as we know it is always moving forward. It's moving forward. And if you're not intentional about what you want the next 5, 10, 20 years of your life to be, then you'll wind up one day and you'll see that life is happening to you as opposed to you being intentional about what you want to happen in your life and in your world. And so I want you to take a moment and I want you to ask yourself and to begin to write down, who is it that I desire to be? Who am I becoming? And once you answer that question, you want to think about, well, what skills does that person have? What resources does that person utilize? What goals can I put in place? What habits do I need to develop that I don't have currently today? It may be that as you're on this journey and as you're looking for an opportunity to reset or to transition into more meaningful work, more purpose-filled work, or more work that gives you freedom and flexibility to live the life that you want, that you have to become a version of yourself that is elevated from who you were before. For example, if you are someone who has struggled with perfectionism, and you are just, everything has to be perfect, and maybe you believe you have to be perfect in order to be valuable, you may find that you also deal heavily with procrastination, because if it's not perfect, it won't be released. And so you may find yourself constantly in an analysis paralysis, and you're always trying to figure out how how to make something more and more and more perfect, as opposed to producing, understanding that you can produce quality and continue to iterate from there. And if your desire, for example, is to get promoted to work as an executive in your industry, then you're going to have to learn how to be a decision maker who makes, the right decision faster. Right? You're not going to be able to procrastinate the way this perfectionism may have had you in the trap before. And so that was just a short example, but you want to begin to think about, who is it that you desire to be? Who am I becoming? And if you find that there's a large gap between where you are today and who you want to be, that just means you need support in becoming that next version of yourself. You may need to surround yourself with different people. You may need to start reading different books. You may need to even take the approach to your career development in a different way, so that you are truly progressing your life forward in a way that allows you to live free, to live whole, to live happier, and to accomplish the impact your life is supposed to have.
So what I think you were right on point there with some of the questions we have in the Q&A. Like Wanda had asked, suppose I no longer want to do this role? Where am I the high, like do the role where I'm the highest? And then Rashida wanted to know, like, what if your highest level is an area that drains you? And I think to your point there, you kind of have to maybe not necessarily pivot, but maybe reevaluate what you're bringing in and giving out in your role, right? And how you're learning to move forward.
Absolutely. So we can take those individually. So for Wanda, so suppose I no longer want to, uh-oh, I just lost the question.
I'm
Let
sorry.
me,
So if she no longer wants to operate in the role that she's the highest in.
so then, okay, so that is a great question. So what you are excellent at, that's not what you want to do. Great. You want to ask yourself, what is my mission? What is it that I desire to build at this stage in my career? And allow that question to guide you to in the path of what's next.
And then Rashida wanted to know, what if the highest level area is a drain on you?
So this is so good. Okay, so there is a difference between something that is a strength and something that that energizes you, and something that maybe you're good at but it does not energize you. It's important to understand the differences. I believe there are times when we will need to make sure that we're leveraging all available strengths for a season just to survive some things. But if you're finding that the area that you've been functioning at a high level in is not energizing you, it's depleting you, that probably is not your only strength, but that can be an invitation for you to explore a mission that aligns to another one of your gifts or another one of the strengths that are untapped that you have.
Excellent, excellent. You know what? I'm going to save these other two questions that are in here for the Q&A segment, and I'll let you continue on. But please, we appreciate the questions. Please keep them coming, and we'll get to them during the Q&A.
Okay, excellent. And so the next question that you want to ask yourself is, where are my people? Now, purposeful networking is all about you being able to find the people that can help you grow, people that are willing to give you an opportunity, people that are willing to listen, to give advice, mentor you. A LinkedIn is a great platform for being able to connect with people that you don't know. I know there are some people back in the day, we maybe used LinkedIn and we connected with folks that we already knew. Today, I use LinkedIn to connect with people that I don't know and to interact with those that I know, but I use LinkedIn to build new relationships. And so I want you to begin to think about, as you answered the question of who am I becoming, your next question to answer is, where are my people? Where is the tribe? Where is the community? Where is the opportunity? Where is it that I can begin to grow in the direction I desire to be in this next phase of my life? And so on LinkedIn, there are groups on LinkedIn. There are, you can search similarities that you may have with other people, like your school that you grew up, that you graduated from. So you can be an alumni and you can search alumni. I went to Alabama A&M University, so I'm an AAMU Bulldog. And so if I wanted to connect with other Bulldogs, I might say, well, let me look at some Bulldogs that are also in HR, and I can begin to connect with them. You may find that you want to get into a new industry, so you can type that industry in and you can begin to reach out and just connect with other people that are on LinkedIn. You can ask for 10 minutes of someone's time. I'm normally one who's also very generous with the virtual coffee chat whenever I can, to just be of value to other people. You'll find that, people that are complete strangers that maybe you had no idea would be willing to help you, that they are. I've gotten some incredible opportunities, speaking opportunities. I've become an adjunct faculty all through LinkedIn. And so don't be afraid to not only be on LinkedIn, but to connect with people that are already in a line of work or industry or area that you desire to be in, and to ask them for advice, to connect with them to see, what they can lend to you on this journey. You'll find that that's very fruitful as you continue with consistency over time.
LinkedIn's a great resource. We did some great workshops 2 weeks ago on the power of LinkedIn with Lorraine Lee. And then also we had the chief diversity, equity, and inclusion officer at LinkedIn come on and do a workshop. So that was amazing. But also, if you just drill down, like the National Urban League, the Emerging Leaders Program is a great place to kind of connect with like fellows that are interested in developing their leadership skills. And then even at the affiliates, there's so many affiliates out here that are doing some great programming to support young professionals. And so look into that and join the young professional chapters. Explore the National Urban League website to look at the Emerging Leaders Program and find ways to connect with people that are really in the same space as you, looking to develop their leadership skills and develop their brand in general.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so on the next slide here, this is where you want to really challenge yourself. There are ways to, some people set goals that help them get certain things, and there are other people that set goals that help them grow. And so I want to ask you to really begin to think about the next phase of your career. Again, how am I going to be intentional about my career development plans to grow? And so sometimes we can put this requirement or responsibility on our companies, and we can expect that the company, will provide everything we need that's going to help us grow professionally. I have found that that is just not the case. It's just not the case. While there are career development programs for high achieving professionals, there's a whole lot more people that don't get opportunities to do these programs that are reserved for just the few. And so you can take your career and put it in your own hands by really owning your own career growth and development. This may mean that you're joining and you're a part of certain coaching communities. You're a part of this community with the Urban League. This may mean that you do mastermind cohorts. It may mean that you are actively engaged in reading clubs, that you are also listening to podcasts, that you are enlisting the support of your own personal board of directors, which is basically where you identify 3 to 5 mentors that are a lot further along, maybe 5 to 10 years ahead of you, that can help to guide and lead you through different decisions that you'll need to make in your career. But overall, it's important that you develop your own personal career plan for your own development and your growth. Don't leave that up to the next company, up to your supervisor, but develop your own plan for growth and put yourself in the position where you're taking opportunities, you're attending conferences. There are some companies that will pay for conference, for development, and you'll have a budget for it. There are other companies that may be a little more, tighter with their budget, and they can't reimburse you for it. But any opportunity that you may have to learn and grow yourself and your skills, you want to make sure that you are taking that and you're putting yourself in the position where you're seeking out opportunities and events, whether you're on Eventbrite or you are on LinkedIn or you're Googling conferences within your specific industry or your niche, and you are learning about it and you're figuring out how can you invest in your own growth. That will help you become that much more valuable in this next phase and shift within your career.
They need to learn, grow, and thrive, Nikita. Is that what they need to do?
We need to learn, grow, and thrive. That's right. Kenneth gave a reference to, I have a leadership newsletter on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, I would love to connect with you. My handle is at Nikita the Mentor, and you can subscribe to that newsletter. You're welcome to. And so on the next slide here, the next slide is where, again, we're going to write our vision and we're going to get unstuck with coaching, with mentorship, or with support. And so I want you to take a moment, maybe take an hour this week. I don't want you to delay this, but I want you to take an hour. Maybe you can take an hour today. Maybe it's going to be tomorrow. Maybe it's going to be on Friday, but I want you to make sure you prioritize writing out your vision. Your vision should include your dreams, your goals, your values, and who you are becoming in this next phase of your life and your career. And once you write all of that down, the type of work that you want to do, what you believe your gifts are, what your strengths are, then I want you to identify resources. There are free resources and there are paid resources, but I want you to know today that you have every resource available to you that you need in order to take the next step forward in the direction of your life and your career that you want to be in. And so this is what's next. This is now it's your turn. Now it's time for you to begin to write your vision and to get yourself unstuck. If you've been feeling like you've been stuck or you've been stagnated or you've been uncertain, get some support through coaching, through mentorship, through the resources that are available. To know that it's not too late. Know that you've not missed your turn. You've not missed your opportunity. Know that you're just one step away, but it all begins with your vision. And I want to challenge you as you're writing your vision, not to just write your vision for right now. I want you to look at how do you write your vision for the next 10 to 20 years or the next 20 to 30 years? How do you begin to create a long-term vision that works and operates as your North Star and then back up and create some milestones along the way? Without a vision, without having vision, you'll find that life is happening to you and you're not progressing forward and you'll feel unfulfilled and you'll find yourself, the longer you stay there, the harder it is to get out of that place. And so I want you to make sure that you write your vision, you write down what your goals are, and that you are progressing forward. You're taking the next step to get the resources you need with your career, with your life, and really getting alignment in this next phase.
Speaking of the next phase, let's go to the next slide. A big way to connect through and get to that next phase. Talk to them, Nikita.
Yes, and so I want to stay connected with you. And so this is just a slide here of some of my books and journals in the background. But if you are on LinkedIn, I want to connect with you on LinkedIn. So I'm going to drop my LinkedIn here. Let me see if I can drop this in here so that you can click on the link and send me a connection request. I am doing a workshop next week for those who want to ditch their doubt or want to become more clear about the next step in their career. I would love to support you. It's a free workshop. And you can, when you connect with me on LinkedIn, mention the workshop and that we connected from here. I'll make sure that you get the link to sign up for that. Also, I'm going to do 3 free coaching sessions for the first 3 that sign up. I'm a giver. And Kenneth, I was sharing with you, this is my birthday month, y'all.
Yes.
So I'm a March baby, and my birthday is on March the 23rd. So I want to give away 3 free coaching sessions for the first 3 that want to opt in order to get access to that. Now, listen, y'all, it's 191 people on here. So those spots probably, I would imagine, are going to fill up quickly. But if you know this is for you, if I've resonated with you, then you want to go to the website, nikitalawrence.com. There is a link where you would click to apply to become a client, but that'll be the link that you use to get access to your free coaching session. I'm only going to do 3, but I'm going to do 3 specifically for this group and community that's here. I'm also going to give you a 23% off. So starting now for the next hour, you can save 23% off of your purchase if you wanted books or journals or to check out what merchandise we have available. You can check that out at www.wakeupyourgift.com. Thank y'all for the birthday wishes. And then I'm also going to give away one of my journals. And so this is the Gold I Am Wealth journal. And it's going to be my gift to the first person who shared their birthday that is also in the month of March. So Urban League team, I'm going to need your help because y'all were already dropping these birthdays in here before I even shared that was what my giveaway was gonna be. So there was somebody, let's see, can we see who the first person was
Tell you
who
what,
dropped?
we're gonna let them handle that. They'll let us know. I want to get to this Q&A because we're running kind of late. So let's jump into the Q&A. Hey, you guys can keep that screen up if you want to, if people still need to see that. But we'll jump into the Q&A. I'm going to bypass this. Georgetta, I'm sorry, but any guides or prompts? Nikita just gave you a bunch of guides and prompts on how to connect through and get that type of information. So please lock in to her website. But first question, how do you transfer when you don't have next steps or plans? What's the first step for someone in this situation? Or transition, I'm sorry.
Okay, so and how do you transition if you don't have
Next steps or plans.
Okay, so the first step is to ask yourself, what is it that go back to the mission, right? So what is it that I desire to build in this next season of my life and of my work? And so you would start with the vision. You have to get clear about what it is that you want. And I've told you, I may have shared this before, but sometimes that's the hardest part, Ken, is finding out what it is that we want, really getting clear, because for most of our lives, we're told what to want and we're told what we can have and what we can't. So just to sit down and to really get clear about what direction we desire to move in, that's the first step.
All right. Yeah, I feel like I've been blessed. So I knew what I wanted to do when I was in college, right? I knew exactly what it was that I wanted to do, and I'm here. But for so many people, friends, colleagues, associates, they didn't have that vision or that idea. And even to this day, some of them still kind of teeter with it because to me, I believe they're not kind of being true with what it is that they really want to do. They're still hearing the outside voices saying, you should do this or you should do that. So I appreciate that advice you just shared. All right, let's go to the next question here. How do you plan to transition without burnout?
Oh, that is a good question. That's a good question. I have a book called Bye Bye Burnout that will help. Separately, I think one of the things to think about when you're preparing a transition is, how do I do less? So often we think about, how do I do more? And we have this idea that we need to do more in order to experience more, but that is not always the case. And in most cases, when we are preparing to transition mentally and emotionally, it's going to take a lot. That's going to already bring a certain amount of weight. And so, any ways that you can begin to lighten your load or lighten what's on your plate, that will support you in being able to transition without burnout, learning how to draw yourself back to say, what, I was 100% committed to being a part of this one thing. I can't be 100% committed right now because my focus has to be on something else. And giving yourself permission to say no without guilt or shame will help.
I love it. I love it. Hey, by the way, before we get to this next question, we have a winner. We have a winner. And the winner is Dita Joseph, birthday March 6th, but that is the winner. So congratulations. Congratulations. You see the excitement.
Congratulations, Dita, and happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday as well. All right, let's go to the next question. Do you have any special advice for the more mature, seasoned professional looking to make a change?
Absolutely. So one of my clients that I worked with a couple of years ago was reaching her 63rd birthday and had already had a very successful career in the work she had done for about 30 years or so. And what was next for her was to explore her passions and her gifts and her dreams. And for her, that looked like really becoming a coach and a mentor for other women in a specific area that she had expertise in, which was in managing through abusive situations and becoming a healthier woman. And just, she took her journey and became a coach and started to work with clients privately. For my mature career professionals, you want to think about the transition of, how do you teach and share what it is that you have? How do you impart that into the next generation while exploring what you are passionate about and what you're excited about? What does that look like? It may not be that it's in entrepreneurship, but it may be that you are offering your skill set in a way that gets your bucket filled and is not just doing something just to do something at this stage in your career.
All right, so let's jump in. This is probably going to be our last question, but I'd like for you to speak briefly on how someone transitions from a W-2 full-time employee to an entrepreneur.
Oh, that is a big question. That is a big question. I think the first thing to do, so when I first made my transition, the first time, I left Walmart and I was not prepared. And so I think I'll talk about what not to do because I think that'll help. And so when you're transitioning from a W-2 full-time employee into entrepreneurship, one of the first things you want to not do and that you want to avoid is jumping out before financially you've prepared yourself to do that. And so that means that you likely will want to start in a part-time capacity with whatever that entrepreneurial model is while you're still working full-time so that you're able to learn what you need to learn to flex the muscles that you don't have, to build the structure, the support, the resources, the predictable income, so that then when you're ready to transition, you're not trying to transition yourself into full-time entrepreneurship without the support financially that you need in order to make sure that you can still live the quality of life that you desire. And so one of the other things to do that's really helpful is to make sure that you have some type of guide, support, mentor, coach, someone that's already done that and already taken that journey and that can support you along the way, because it gets hard and it can be discouraging, especially in the beginning, because it takes time to build something that will last. Many people go into business and, within a couple of years, they're no longer doing that. They're no longer in business because it didn't work or they didn't figure out how to make it work over the long haul. And so slow and steady is my recommendation and advice there.
I love it. Listen, speaking of slow and steady, we didn't do it. We were steady, but we were fast and giving all types of information today. I want to thank you for checking in with us here at the National Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. We can jump 2 slides, I guess, ahead. Please, you have Nikita's information. Please lock in with her on LinkedIn. I bet you your LinkedIn is crazy right now, Nikita. I guarantee you it's crazy. I know a lot of people jumped in because you gave great information today. If you want to connect with me, I'm always open to connecting. LinkedIn, I live over there. So please feel free to link up on LinkedIn, but you can get me on all the social media feeds, or you can just visit eastcoastexecutives.com to stay close to everything that's happening over there and with East Coast Executives Black Box and myself, Kenneth L. Johnson. Let's do it. Next slide. All right, we told you it was Women's History Month. So we're going to continue this thing, Nikita. We're going to continue it all month. So on the 15th of March, we're talking about Her Way. And really what this is about, this is a discussion to celebrate Women's History Month and hear from women who've taken unconventional career paths, and we'll kind of give you a peek into how they got there. So that's what it's all about. This was the perfect setup for that conversation. You spoke about transitioning. Next week, we'll speak about 2 weeks from now, we'll speak about unconventional career paths, and we'll just continue to celebrate women. Coming off of Black History Month, this is the perfect narrative right now. So I appreciate all that have joined the show. I'd like to give a special thanks to the National Urban League team, Wanda Jackson, Dory Brown, and team, Dave Gannon, Adanya Kanji. Thank you all so very much for making this an amazing, amazing platform where we can share people like Nikita Lawrence with our constituents and our supporters. Nikita, I want to thank you again for being with us today.
It was my pleasure and honor. Thank you, Kenneth, for the opportunity.
You really did your thing today. Thank you so very much. And speaking of doing your thing, just in closing out, everybody wish Nikita a happy birthday again. Jump in the chat. Nikita, happy birthday to you. Deidre.
Thank you.
March 6th, we got all kind of March birthdays in here. I don't know what sign that is, but they're here today, so I can appreciate that. All right, we'll see you on March 15th for Her Way. Please register, please lock in. As usual, you can view this and all the other Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series episodes on the Urban League Jobs Network YouTube channel. My name is Kenneth L. Johnson. On behalf of the National Urban League, thank you. Enjoy Women's History Month. We'll see you on the 15th.